Okay, now I think we're back on the way that will be easiest for everyone to watch. And we still have a couple of minutes to go. Yep, there we go. Much better this time around. We'll just get set up so we can watch. I gotta say that when Tracy Evans came out with her latest release, I really love the Protea of flower. It's one of my favorites. It's got so much texture to it. It's huge. I mean, you can just have one and some greenery in a vase and it looks fabulous. So I was really pleased when she came out with this stamp set, and it was really lots of fun to work with. Now, I did give you a teaser as to just a couple of the pieces that I'm going to be working with, but we're coming up on 1:30 here, so I'm just going to show you. This is today's card. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks, how to do the painting, how to do reverse image, and also texture paste. So there's going to be a lot going on. So I'm going to bring this up nice and close so you can kind of see there's some sparkle in there. The leaves are layered. The background, this is Tracy Evans brick stencil, and I used texture paste. I used white and black, and then I did some coloring with oxide inks and such. So you can see the leaves are all a little bit different, and I didn't do all the punch outs on them because I wanted some layers of interest. This is where the sentiment is going to go. It just depends on the occasion that this card is going to be used with. Put in some twine to kind of give it, another layer of interest. And then 3 flowers, because we always work in odd numbers. So you can see some of the different textures that are in there. Okay, so we are just going to put this off to the side where I can grab it quite easily. And this is the stamp set right here. Now, what I'm going to suggest is I have one all set up here. When you do this, if you plan on painting your piece as opposed to maybe using pastels, markers, etc., sort of thing with a blender pen, I did, a quick stamping off after I had stamped one of these, and just softly, because I wanted to play with some color combinations. I wanted to see the color of the paints to see which one was going to give me closest to color. And what I did is I went in on Google and I Googled the Protea just so that I could see the different colors. There's some peachy ones. So again, it depends on what you want to work with. Like, I chose black here, and then you can see here that the grid, I used a gel pen to give it a little bit more sparkle. But you could use like a brown. If you're going the peachy tones, you could use a brown stripe. That would be really nice. I was thinking also like a leopard print would be kind of fun and funky. When I was going through the Scrap en Masse website yesterday, I noticed that there's some cowhide paper. I think it's Simply Stated that has a package of that. That would be really kind of cool for something that's kind of fun and funky. If someone's moving into a new house and they have like a farmhouse kind of theme, you could have your cowhide paper here with your flowers on here with a little house here. You could really do it up quite nicely. So, like I said, I stamped it off and I just played around with some colors until I decided on what was going to work, what was going to give me the colors that I wanted. And here you can see it's a fair size stamp. And I'm actually going to do some of the painting for you here today. So what I have done here, okay, is I've put down my base color, which is very light, because when you look at the Protea, you've got the white tips, you got a little bit lighter pink, and then you've got the darker tones. So I've got my white tips, I've got a little touch of the pink in there, and then I'm going to be adding in my darker tone like I did here. So white tips, and all the petals don't have to look exactly the same, because please don't look close. Mine are not all exactly the same, but you can see how the white tips, the lighter pink, and then the darker pink. Okay. I'm also going to say that when you decide what you're going to have down the strip, if you were going to do something like this, I opted to do, I wanted something a little different, a little texture. I opted for Tracy's brick wall stencil. I love this. It's just got so much definition to it, just as a stencil. And I did up the strip once I decided that I would have it there. But then I did up a sample one, because when you're using the texture paste, it does take a while for it to dry. So I wanted to have a sample piece so I could try my different colored inks, how I wanted to highlight different sections. So because of the time factor of the drying, that's why I did two at the same time. Just a scrap piece of paper, put on the texture paste. I used a dimensional paste here, and I used the distressed texture paste in black, okay, to create this. So in some spots you'll see it's white. You've got a little bit more of the black MAC, and then solid black in there. So even here on the card, you can see I've got a little bit more black showing there, some white, some gray tones, definitely black down here, but some gray tones too. Just however my spatula caught it, that's how it came off. So just to show you, this is the fun gooey part. Now, in working with this paste, I'm going to say, come on, off we go. Okay, and here's the black. And a lot of people don't necessarily know about the black, but it's actually kind of fun to work with. So you can see here, I still have some of the gray. There's gray tones, there's some black in there. And now I can just see how easy it is just to mix it up. And then you could fill in some of the empty spots there. Go back, add in some more white if that's what you like. But I got to say that working with this stencil was really lots of fun. And the texture paste, because you're dealing with the thickness, it really does give a nice textured brick wall. Just want to bring up there. Hi Suzanne, how are you today? Okay, so I'm just going to clean this guy off. Now, when it comes to cleaning your stencil, the last time I was out at the shop, Jose mentioned this little scrub brush. I took this, as soon as I was done, I took it to the sink, soaked it with some water, and then, see the little nubs here? They're tiny little nubs. This got in and clear. This has got to have been the easiest time I've ever cleaned a stencil using this. I couldn't believe the difference. Before, I'd be scrubbing away, you know, massaging my stencil, trying to get, you know, the texture paste or whatever off, and I would be standing there a long time. This worked beautifully. So if you get a chance to pick one of these up in the shop, do it. It's a real life and time changer. Okay, so we'll put that off to the side. So while your brick wall is drying, I should say, you can just put this off to the side before we decide what we're going to do there. So now back to the flower. Now when it comes to the flower, I wanted to get as close to what the flower looks like as possible, as close as possible. And, you know, there is artistic license. And for me, just because I do like to have control, per se, over how I'm mixing the colors, etc. And not only that, while I'm working with this nice tiny little brush, it does take a little bit longer, but I like it because I can control it better, the colors. And between you and I, my husband cooks dinner that day. So you'll notice here, I've got down the light pink, okay? So what I'm going to do, I played around with a couple of different colors to give me the extra depth that I wanted. And so the first color that I used, my base, it was the flamingo. Go figure, flamingo. But it's a really pretty pink. I'm topping, on top of that, I am putting seedless preserves. So I am just going to have that handy. And you'll see how I do it in just really small amounts, but I want to show you just a couple of quick little tips. So there we go. We'll start right here. I'm just going to put this color, the second color, the depth color, and then I'm just going to start moving it with a little bit of water. Now, you'll notice, as with here, you can kind of see a water line. And you don't want that so much because you want it to be a soft blend. So just take a little bit more clean water on your brush and just kind of go over that edge, push it back, and then it's not as noticeable. So let's do that again. Again, purple. Let's do this one right here. And I'm just going to lay down some color. And then we're just going to start moving it. Now you can start to see that there's that line that I was talking about. And so you just want to go in with the clean water brush. And you see how you soften it, and now that water line is gone. And you get to decide, as Tim would say, you do you. You get to decide on how much color you lay down. Now, the thing to remember is that this looks really dark right now, but when it dries, it's not as dark. You know, it's darkest when it's wet. And we're just going to soften that line. There, you can see. Hi, Joanne. So let's do another one. You see, and this is what takes a little bit of time. Thank you, honey, for cooking dinner. And then we're just going to start working this. And like I said, each petal does not have to be identical. It's good to kind of change them up. Because remember, you got different light sources as well. Okay, see, when I come in with a clean, wet brush, I get rid of that water line. And you can see the flower. This is what gets me excited. It's once I started doing a couple of the petals and going, oh, wow, this is so cool. It was really coming to life. Once you've done your flower and it's dry, and of course this color isn't as dark, then you can go back in, like I did a couple of times, and add a little bit more color. That's the nice thing about this really thin brush. Like I said, it helps me control. Others may want a little bit bigger brush. Let's just see. See, I have a thing for thin brushes, eh? But I've got a number of different brushes. To me, this would be too big, but this would come in handy when I was putting down the initial color. This could work really well. Okay, so that's all it takes for this. And work off your photo that you might have. In the photos, I noticed that the center part here was green. You'll notice that there are greens in there, but there's still some white. Okay, the leaves I didn't do separately with greens, but there were some seam lines, and that is where I added some green into there as well. Hi, Marielle. Okay, so that's for the flower there. And you can see, even with here, you can see how each one is just a little bit different. And that's okay. So we'll put that off to the side. There we go. Now, sometimes when I was looking at the leaves and such, I thought, I want to add more leaves, but sometimes when you're working with a project, they have the leaves going one way. And for your flower, you'd like maybe that leaf to flip to the other side. The nice thing about Tracy's stamps here, you'll notice that she does right and left, right and left. But if you do not have that option, I'm going to do just a quick little demo here for you. Going to show you. You can flip your image yourself. And let's just see. I'm just going to get a little stamp pad here. I try to be so organized. We got back from picking up my husband's vintage car. And okay, here we go. So, and I'm just going to condition this because I haven't used it as of yet. So, this is called a reverse image stamp. The Scrap-On Mask does have it. It's not a wooden block one. I think it's a clear block one. But they do come in handy. And I just want to be able to show you this because, you know, the times when you just think, no, I'm not going to need that. It sure does come in handy having it in my drawer. So all you're going to do is stamp up your image. Make sure it's good and stamped up there. And like I said, if you've got flowers with other projects and the leaves are not going the way you want them to, just stamp on this. Oops. Okay, let's try this again. Boy, the fun of doing lives, eh? Just when you think, oh yeah, piece of cake. Okay, I'm going to clean this off. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the reverse stamp, but anyways, it has saved me on more than one occasion when I need a mirror image. Okay, so let's try it again. There we go. Then take your paper. I found it easier to do it this way. You can kind of see the image coming through the paper there. There you go. You've got your reverse image. Now you may have to take a marker and, you know, just fill it in a little bit. But there you go. You can do a reverse image of a stamp that you're using that you need a reverse image of. But like I said, there have been more than one occasion I thought, oh, I wish that was reversed. And that I remember, oh yeah, you got that pad in the drawer. But the nice thing, like I did say, about Tracy, she does have the reverse images with her pattern there. But quick and easy, and you're done. Okay, so let's put that off to the side there. Okay, now it comes to the leaves. And I did do a couple of different things with the leaves. Okay. That one. Now, when I first started card making, I put magnets all over one of my closet doors so that I could just have all my my dies right handy right behind me. So some of these are plenty old and I don't have the packaging. But this is a Sizzix and it's probably an old one, but I did like the leaves because it's got some vein lines in there. So it makes it easy just to go along with your fingernail along the vein there and kind of give it a little bit of shaping. Okay, and this one here as well. Now, what I found the easiest was to have individual leaves and not so much, as you can see here, you know, they're grouped together. And I just found it easier to have them cut apart. Now, when it came to laying down the green color, I didn't fuss that much with it because I had planned on doing something just a little bit different. I wanted to do an overlay, as you can see here. So the die cuts, the overlay here, some, like I said, some of the bits I did punch out, some of them I didn't, because I wanted to add that extra layer of texture, okay? So when it comes to the greens, I started with, let's get rid of that one because it's got the black on it. And start up with a new cloth here. Okay, and I'm just doing a color wash. Again, I kind of did a layout before, so I kind of knew which side I wanted light, you know, for the light source coming in, and which side I wanted dark. And you may be looking at my little butter dish going, is she really using a butter dish? Yep. It's an old one, but sometimes at garage sales you find the neatest things that, I don't know, to me your work or your creative space should be fun, and that is why I have a butter dish as my water dish. I also collect sugar shakers to put my glitter in, or my ice, Tim Holtz ice. It's just, my husband thinks I'm weird, but that's okay. He has old jars in his workbench, so there we go. So we let these dry, and then, so this one here was peeled paint. Again, you may want to use that color. You may decide, no, I want something totally different. You do you. So this one here is a little bit dry already. So I had decided that this side here was going to be my darker side. And as you can see, nothing terribly fancy, just laying down color Okay, that one's good. This one's still a little bit on the wet side, but we will just do this. This side will be my dark color. We'll change it up because we're just, you may or may not want to do an overlay, but I chose to do so. Now there's something that I did with this that I want to share with you, because I wanted, because of all the layers and the black and everything else there, I really don't, for me, I don't like a white edge showing. So there's a couple little tricks that I'm just going to show you. Okay, there we go. And so at least with the overlays, when you're peeking through, okay, you get to see a couple of different greens. Now, when it came to the overlays, I used one. I think this one is still available. It may not be in the shop, but you can always ask for it. 664431. Now, when you die cut these, okay, they don't die cut the actual leaf. So you get to come in, and I'm just going to quickly do this, and you can decide how close that you want to get to the edge, how much of a border that you want on that. And I'm just going to, and you'll notice again, I've punched out some of the cuts and some of them I haven't. And then I just kind of glued it down right here at the tip. And probably have to reshape this a little bit, but there you go. You can see light and you can see dark. And let's just do this last one here. Like I said, you can decide, but when you're doing the die cutting, just keep that in mind, that these don't punch out the leaf per se. Now, when I was going through my collection, because I'm a big Tim Holtz fan, okay, I pulled up some others that I wanted to share with you. You see, it just adds a little bit of funky fun. Now, this is the one that is in the shop right now, and this one is 666380. I wanted to show this to you because this could give you some really fun results as well, because there are leaf shapes, so you could die cut black. But the nice thing about this is, if you don't want to die cut the whole leaf, look at these fun bits. You could just die cut this black piece. Here, give me a second and I'll be right back. Just so that you can see. And you'll see what I mean by how fun this die set is. Okay, so here's this. This is what you end up with. And look at, you could just lay that right down in there. And that even really changes up the look. Okay? A little bit more green shows, but it changes up the look. Now, like I said, I have this thing about, just so that I don't lose any of my die bits here, about white edges. So when it comes to the leaves, what I did is I have a pen. It's a brush pen, okay? So it's got a fine point, And I just want a piece of paper. Here we go. Here, let's start on this side here. What I did is I did an angle and just ran it along the edge. See how quick and easy it is just to define that leaf? And that was so quick. And it was only because, you know, like there's so much black in there, but I really didn't want the white edge. And you can just put that there like that. There, and it's done. Whoops, except for that one there. I think I want just a little bit more. There we go. Now, same as it can be said for the flowers. See the white edge? Personally, I prefer not to have that white edge. So I'm going to show you a little trick. I always hold my pen from behind, because if my pen's going to get away from me, it'll come down the back. Okay? So I just hold on to it and run it along the edge. And it gets rid of that white edge. Now, if you're kind of nervous about doing this, just take a Post-it note. And you want to, I would say, probably tear this in half because you work in small areas. Just lay it along there, because remember, it's just a Post-it note. So if it did come over, okay, it's on the Post-it note. It's not on your piece. Then just keep moving down the line. To get rid of that white edge. And it just cleans it up. When it comes to the inside, I used a knife to cut these inner parts out. You can just, again, I'm taking it along inside. That's the nice thing about having the point there. And again, if you want to be super careful and not get the black ink on anything, just use your Post-it note to protect your piece. Okay, let's try it, like even up here. Here's the tip. I just want to make sure that, you know, but like I said, I come in from the back. And for me, it just cleans it up. And I'm just going to come in here. But you see the difference? It just cleans it up. So, two little tricks there. The brush pen, if you're using colors, then go ahead. Like even if you didn't want to do a black, but you wanted to do a green, pull out your green markers. Okay, let's do this guy. Okay, and again, you're just, I find with the brush, it gives you a little bit more leeway, but you see the difference? Here, I've used my marker on here to clean up that white edge. There you go. And it just tidies it up. Or, like I said, with the black, what I did was, where did that one go? Just take, here it is, take the pen, and I did a black outline on each one of those. And then I can lay that on top of there. Or with this die set, yes, this one here. See, you've got all kinds of funky bits there. You could really have some fun there. I'm going to play with that one next, I think, because, see, it just jazzes it up a little. It just makes it a little bit more fun. Okay, so there we go. That's that. And these, the painting. We've got that off to the side. I'm just checking my list. Okay, now when it comes to, here's your brick wall, and you want to tint some of this to kind of fill in the spaces. I played around. You can see I've tried different colors here, and I thought, I think this one here is vintage photo. I thought, no, that one didn't work so well for me. So what I chose, and I always have a piece of paper where I'm blotting off because I don't want to go on heavy-handed with it. I want to go in soft initially. Initially, I think I started with, oh yeah, see, here's all my dots here. And I was just giving some shadows. But when you do yourself up a sample piece to play with, you kind of get a feel for it. You get used to how much texture paste you have down, where you want to do your shadowing, where you maybe want to add some over top of the black, if you've chosen black. Okay, so this one here was Hickory Smoke. And then I went with Frayed Burlap. And I went in a little bit softer. This one here was definitely vintage photo, and it just kind of went, whoa. But the Frayed Burlap just kind of warms it up a little bit. And like I said, you can decide on that, how you want to do it. But definitely do up a sample piece just so that you get used to it. And you can decide how you want to do it on your actual card piece. You can see there's just hints there of the Frayed Burlap. There's some up here. And then there's the smoke, Hickory Smoke throughout. And then what I did along that white edge is I took my black magic marker and just inked it along there before putting on the pink skinny border to take it back to the color of the flowers. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and I told you about the scrub brush. Oh my gosh, was I ever surprised at how easy that stencil cleaned up with that little scrub brush. Okay, so just to show you some of the other leaves, like even this one here, this is a good one. It kind of adds some depth and some definition to your leaves. This one here, you could just die cut them out of whatever paper, but have black underneath, okay? And then what I would do is to have the plain black underneath is I would take this, actually, and I would just trace the outline on the black, okay, and then fussy cut it out, because then it would give that nice shadow effect, I want to say, for the leaves. But you know, I think leaves don't get enough play, and there's always another layer of interest. Okay, so we did that. Okay, now you'll notice here on the card I left a spot because this is where I want to put my sentiment. And like I said, I'm not sure what the sentiment might be. It might even be Happy Mother's Day. Unfortunately, my mother and my mother-in-law have both passed, but I do have friends that have wonderful mothers, so they might be interested in it. So I had already kind of planned for that. And then it's just a matter of adding in your layers. And that's why I've got a little bit of the sparkle there. I've got some twine in there. Now, the other thing to consider, and sometimes, usually I do this, but this time I didn't because I wanted just, I thought enough going on, is that I would probably, at some point, even if I had this here all painted, I might even just go in, cut around there, and add an extra layer in behind that there. So let me just see. Okay, so let's just say, for interest's sake, just so that you can see the way my mind works. Come on. Sometimes I'm not even sure which way my mind works. Actually, you know how your mind gets going. And actually, I finished this off about 1 o'clock this morning because you keep thinking, what if? What if? But you see, I could then put this in between. Add an extra layer. If you were just doing the one flower, do an extra stamping and then paint it up. But you see, you can layer it up. Then you could, get in there with your fingers and start curling and giving it a little more definition. I know my husband looks at some of my cards and he goes, really? You don't think they're sticking up too high? And no, because some cards, I like to call them presentation cards, where you're not necessarily mailing them, but you're going to be seeing someone. So it's a presentation card, so then they don't get squashed in the mail quite so much. So yeah, then you can add a few more extra layers, a little bit more definition, a little bit more fussing with, flower petals, etc. But there you go. So even if we were just to continue on here. And I'm just doing this quickly. But definitely with this, do an extra stamping of your flower and make an extra sample of your brick wall, just so that you get a feel for it and you can decide exactly, the color of your bricks that you want to use. You could even just spray them. See? See what a difference that is? And of course, these would be painted back here. And you could even bring this down a little bit more, but a little bit more in between and show more of the petals. So there you go. But don't forget this guy. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Okay, let's talk about some of the extra tools. Okay, you'll notice here on this card for the crosshatch, I used a glitter pen, just a gel glitter pen. The twine, of course, is there. Google Proteas, and then you can see more color ranges, see what you want to work with. If you come across the leaves, if you only have stamps and no dies, but you want leaves going 2 directions, and you only have a leaf going 1 direction, then another option is to pick up that reverse, where did it go? The reversed pattern block that will give you a mirror image, and that's what you want. I think the one in the shop is a gel one, but check it out. Now, when it comes to putting the sentiment on there, I picked up recently the Waffle Flower collage frames and the matching dies. So depending on the sentiment that's going to go in here, this is going to be a nice frame, and I can really dress this up, and then it comes with the matching dies. So that will definitely be something that gets worked on next once we know where it is heading off to. Okay, so there was just a couple of other things that I wanted to go over. Oh, I picked this up. I love the font on this. This is the one that comes from Poland, I believe. And Happy Mother's Day. I thought the font was just so beautiful. And that could look really nice on there. So that's why I pulled that one out, because I'm definitely looking into that one. Okay, so this past week I had a couple of other posts, and I just wanted to run over those very quickly. And both of them involved the Vintage Chronicles collage papers, Botanica one, and I believe you pronounce this as Maramise Small Art collage book. Really nice, beautiful, beautiful, stunning. Again, from Poland. And I'm just going to flip through here. Sometimes we get up to the cache and we forget. There's so much to see, but these are sitting right there. And sometimes you forget to take a look at them. What I did was I took one of my bank reports. I saved the envelope and put it just inside here so that I can save my bits, because they're going to come in handy. But I just wanted to show you when I was trying to decide on these cards, like how hard it was trying to decide which one to use. The colors, the detail is just, it's just fantastic. And you can see I took something out of here. So with using this, okay, and using, you know, I've used this one before, but it had the dragonfly on it, and it had my swoosh on it. I came up with this one. So you notice there's cheesecloth on there. I used the stencil. I tried a different color combination. I'm really trying hard to not use the same colors over and over. And I'm trying to expand my color use. But this came out of this book. And to me, it just worked so well with all the colors that I had chosen. And I used this stamp stencil. The other card that I did, that everyone was really quite enthralled with, was I used the waffle flower postage collage die. And to me, when I was going through the book, let's just put those under there, back here, like some of these, you know, when you go into the post office and they've got the sets of stamps, you know, that you can buy, it might be all flowers or, you know, something like that. And to me, this die just, look at that. See right there, that kind of looks like a postage stamp selection that you would find at the, here's another one, another good one. I might go there. And then add in some butterflies, stamps, and you know, the postage stamp markings on them, etc. So that's how this one came to be. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning thinking, oh my God, what a cool idea. And I came into my room. By 3:30, I was done and heading back to bed. So this one went together really quickly. The thing that I did for this one, you'll notice that there's a black border, and you notice how the edge kind of looks like the postage stamp. So what I did was I took this, and I'll just do this on a piece of scrap paper here, and my pencil. Okay. Here we go. Black piece of paper. And like I said, I still, within 1 hour, had this card all together. even taking the time to trace this off and fussy cut it. Okay, and then I just went in with my fussy cut scissors and cut this black background, and it still has that postage stamp edge to it. But there you go, quick and easy. Okay, I think I've had you almost a full, well, coming up on a good 40 minutes. Anyways, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I hope I've given you some ideas, some tricks that might come in handy for you. Given you the little push to try something a little bit different. One of my resolutions this year was to step outside my comfort zone, you know, out of that box a little more often. So just to recap, okay, the stencil from Tracy Evans, I love this. The brush for cleaning, definitely. Can't say enough about this. Okay, the flowers. You could do extras, but always do one so you can test your sample first. Because I saw some pretty Proteas, even in a peachy color. And then you could layer up like that if you so desire, okay? Don't forget that you can do mirror image if you need to for leaves or such, using the transfer block. I could remember where I put it, which comes in very handy. When the next time you're in the shop, take a look at all the different packages for leaf overlays. Take your leaves up a notch. Have some fun. Experiment. And as you can see, when I was painting my leaves, I wasn't particular about having it look a certain way, only maybe perhaps, you know, the shading of the light and dark where it was coming in. But, you know, what a fun way to change up your leaves. Give them a whole different look. See, right there, just like that. And it just elevates it. And I mean, you could be using any colors. You know, you could create your own paper and then print, die cut some of these individual overlays and create one of a kinds that way as well. The other little trick was to, with your black edges, to just use a, where did that scrap piece of paper go? Just going along the edge, coming in from the back. If you're nervous, like I was when I first started doing it, use a Post-it note right along that edge so you know, it can't get away from you. If it does, think of it as a design challenge. Ladybugs hide a lot of sins, okay? So there we go. Okay, so I'll let you go. Please remember, Tracy Evans, this one here is a fabulous set. Like I said, it's nice that she gives you mirror images. She's got a good range of sizes. So even if you didn't want to do as large a card as I have done here, because I have made some larger ones lately, only because if it's a group of people giving the card, everyone wants to write something, and it's nice that they have lots of space to do it. So even with this one here was done with black, and then I put a full sheet. If they request, then I'll put another sheet in here so that more people can take advantage of signing the card. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. It looks like the weather has clouded over and we might actually be getting some rain out there. So if you have any questions, drop me a line and I'll be happy to do my best to answer them for you. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.